Republicans from Ron DeSantis to Donald Trump are lying about masks and trying to rewrite history when it comes to their negligent handling of the coronavirus pandemic. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. The current Republican Party is still very much Donald Trump's Republican Party, as evidenced by the fact that aspiring Republican candidates are all desperate to mimic him and lavish praise on him. The most popular Republican politicians among Republican voters, the ones who are angling to be president, aren't the ones who have actually done a competent job on COVID. They're the ones desperately trying to imitate Trump and repeat his disastrous COVID response, like Texas Senator Ted Cruz, whose state is experiencing a major surge in COVID cases, with hospitals filling up and ICU beds scarce, thanks in part to the lack of mitigation efforts and low vaccination rates. And yet, even amid all that needless suffering, Cruz said last week that he's against mandates of any kind.
My views were very simple. There should be no mandates, zero concerning COVID. That means no mask mandates, regardless of your vaccination status. That means no vaccine mandates. That means no vaccine passports. And I've introduced legislation, a bill to ban vaccine passports. This week I'm introducing a bill to ban vaccine mandates. And this week I'm introducing a bill to end mask mandates.
That's right. No mandates, no mask mandates, no vaccine mandates. And if I want to show up to Long John Silver's without a shirt and shoes, then that's my right as an American under Section 57, Article Z of the Constitution. This is exactly what happened to Ethan Allen at Fort Ticonderoga. The British wouldn't let him sit without putting on a shirt, and that's why he started making his own furniture. You know, sometimes when you disagree with someone, you can at least understand their point of view, but I just can't access the frame of mind of a person who thinks wearing a piece of cloth over your face while you're shopping for toilet paper at Costco is some give me liberty or give me death moment. You think the founding fathers would have been anti-mask? Those guys wore powdered wigs and capri pants indoors in July. They loved being uncomfortable. You got Republicans like Madison Cawthorn saying he won't bend the knee, and Rand Paul saying they can't arrest us all. If you guys are so desperate to pretend you're founding fathers, just become reenactors. I see them in the park once in a while. They seem like they're having a good time. Of course, there's always one dude who accidentally leaves his ringer on and disrupts the whole flow. By orders of the crown, I hereby declare you a traitor and sentence you to... Oh, hold on, it's my Apple Watch is ringing. Hold on. Honey? What do you mean they're out of matcha smoothies? Well, do they have flaxseed? Well, what about spirulina? What the hell else am I supposed to get my beef up? You know what? Listen, I gotta go. Everybody's yelling witchcraft at me, and Dave just got hit by a Frisbee golfer. And that's today's Republican Party. For a year and a half, we've been battling a deadly virus to save as many lives as possible, and their main priority is standing in the way and making it harder. Like Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, whose state has been breaking records for new cases and hospitalizations. And yet DeSantis is not only against masks personally, he's banned local governments and school districts from imposing their own mask mandates, and even said he opposed vaccine mandates in hospitals. And he also does that Trump thing where he says a line that the crowd loves, but when you think about it, it just doesn't make any sense.
Politicians want to force you to cover your face as a way for them to cover their own asses. That's just the truth.
What does he mean? Has he been reading bumper stickers outside the Tampa AutoZone? I know it sounds like an applause line because it's short and pithy and people clap at the end, but it doesn't actually make any sense. It's like when you're at a Billy Joel concert and everyone's singing along with We Didn't Start the Fire, and then you think about it for a second and you're like, wait, what? Rock and Roller Cola Wars? I can't take it anymore. That was your breaking point. The Cola Wars. There was nothing else happening in 1989 that served as a better breaking point to end the song with. You know what? Let's just leave now and beat the traffic. Oh, look, there is no traffic. I guess everybody left after Space Monkey Mafia. With that said, what a time to grow up. I feel like my kids experience a full verse of We Didn't Start the Fire events every week now. Meanwhile, when I was 16 and my dad would yell at me to get my act together, the only thing I could say to him was, maybe your generation could have solved the Cola Wars, Dad. By the way, can I just repeat for the millionth time, no one likes wearing masks. How do you think I feel? Trying to get a table at a crowded restaurant with the famous half of my face covered? So I try to say things that'll help the maitre d' recognize me. From the looks of it, sir, we're full tonight. Well, maybe you should take a closer look. And then they say, we know who you are, Mr. Myers. We're fully booked. How do you think I feel? But we need to protect ourselves, and we need to protect each other. Studies have repeatedly shown that masks cut down on transmission, and the better the mask, the more protection you get. But of course, the best protection is getting vaccinated. We need a layered approach. Vaccines, masks, ventilation. I don't know why right-wingers get so mad about this. I mean, complex problems require complex solutions. They don't want to hear that, which is why they've spent the entirety of the pandemic lining up behind a guy who once asked his medical advisors if we could just give people a flu shot to cure them of coronavirus. A question so dumb, it was immediately shot down.
You take a solid flu vaccine, you don't think that would have an impact or much of an impact on corona?
No.
Probably not. Probably not.
So,
First of all, what's a solid flu vaccine? Does he think there are flu vaccines? Are people out there looking for a Kirkland signature vaccine? It's not liquor. There isn't a top shelf flu shot where they spell it like it's French. That clip is like a Trump Rosetta Stone. It captures so much about him in like 10 seconds. He thinks he found a shortcut because he doesn't actually want to solve the problem. It's incredibly stupid. And instead of asking his advisors in private, he waits until he's on camera, thus forcing them to tell him to his face in public, at which point he immediately backs down. I'm surprised he didn't start attributing all his medical ideas to a friend. A friend of mine wanted to know if maybe you could cure the virus by swallowing a battery? A battery covered in Bengay? Is that something? Is that something? No? No? Okay. I'll tell my stupid friend it's a no. And now Trump is trying to erase history, first by claiming the vaccine rollout under his administration was a success, when in reality it was a disaster.
I'm very proud of the vaccine. I've taken the vaccine. I'm very, very proud of it. At the same time, some people don't want to take it. And, you know, when I was president, you didn't have this problem with people not wanting to take it. They don't take it because they don't trust Biden, and they don't trust the Biden administration. When I was president, you didn't have people protesting the vaccine. If you just think back, everybody wanted to get it, and we were giving out over 1 million shots a day. We had that thing rocking.
You did not have it rockin', Wolfman jerk. The vaccine rollout when you were president was a disaster. You repeatedly missed your own stated goals. Doses were thrown away, and people were lined up for hours on sidewalks and in cars, and you were totally AWOL because you were spending all your time trying to get the election overturned as people were lining up for hours for vaccines in the middle of a brutal winter when thousands of people were dying from COVID every day. Just as a reminder, this is what Trump was doing.
The president hasn't attended a task force meeting in 5 months, even though they've had one held just in the last week. So if that gives you any idea, we're actually told by sources he's much more consumed by the state of this election and contesting the results than he is with the pandemic surging across the country.
One of the president's visitors today, Mike Lindell, the founder of MyPillow, was seen over here at the White House outside the West Wing. A White House official did tell me, Wolf, that it is believed that the president and Lindell met.
A Washington Post photographer got a close-up of the notes that he was carrying with him. And Jake, when you zoom in on them, you can see that he is talking about the election. Things like martial law are mentioned.
The guy from MyPillow is carrying documents and talking to President Trump, presumably about declaring martial law.
That was in January, when we could have used some national leadership on the vaccine rollout. Instead, Trump was listening to a pillow salesman read off his list of ideas for stealing the election. Mr. President, there's something you can do in martial law that I highly recommend. What do we do with martial law, Mike? Declare it. Nope, didn't work. I forced it and it didn't work. And by the way, Lindell is He's still fighting that lonely fight. He was on OAN the other day complaining about Fox News and mispronouncing a bunch of anchors' names. But otherwise, it seems like things are going pretty well for him.
This is disgusting. Dominion sues good OAN. Heroes. OANs are heroes. Where's Fox? Where's Fox? Newsmax, they sue OAN and Newsmax. Fox, you need to step it up and help save our country. I seen stuff by Jan Bongino on there. He goes, I'll say whatever I want in my show, and people were going after him. Why don't you call and interview me? Sean Hannity told me once, he said, Mike, I can say anything I want on Fox as long as it's the truth. Well, the truth is, Sean, we had a cyber symposium, and the truth is you're not saying anything on your show. Neither are you, Laura. Trucker tried a few times to talk about the 2020 election. I give him some credit. You know, maybe I thought that might be a breakthrough. It was a couple weeks ago, but none of them are talking. What is Fox doing to you? Are you guys you're so worried about your money, all four of you? You're so worried about your money and your job?
I tried to call Jan Bongino and Trunker Carlson and Sean Hannity, and none of them would take my call. I called the Fox and Friends, Steve Dookie and Brian Calamine. I even showed up outside the studio screaming like a lunatic saying, I want to talk to Judge Judy Janine Garofalo. But even more galling than Trump's claim that he had the vaccine rocking was his grotesque lie that COVID was gone by the time he left office, which it obviously was not.
Coronavirus is back. If that ever happened to me where it came back, okay, when I left, it was virtually gone.
He thinks our attention spans are all as short as his. We can remember January. There were over 180,000 COVID cases on Trump's last full day in office. Those are public numbers. We didn't have to sneak into the National Institutes of Health, hack into their computer systems, and smuggle the data out in a roll of microfiche hidden in a coffee can. Second use of microfiche this week. Last time I said, I'd love to hear Nick Cage say it, but if it were a comedy, I think it could work with Owen Wilson, too. Geez, I hid the microfiche in my sock drawer, and now it's gone. I haven't done Owen in a while because at Impression Camp, we're working on some new people. For example, my McConaughey is getting better. My instructor told me it's not the best, but it's all right, all right, all right. And then, get this, the next morning, he hung himself. My instructor hung himself. Anyway, it's one thing for Fox to lie, which they do all the time. It's another to try to rewrite history in such a grotesquely Orwellian fashion. Like, you can't just let Trump come on and say COVID had magically disappeared by the time he left when 400,000 Americans had died. You can't just Men in Black us into forgetting about that, although I'm sure they would try it if they could. Tucker Carlson always looks like he just accidentally flashed himself with the neuralizer. Rudy, meanwhile, looks like he accidentally sat on the neuralizer. Oh no, my butt's where I keep all my memories. How can we trust a network whose hosts and guests have a look of shock on their faces like their dog just made a phone call? Rusty, you can talk? Who you calling? The police. But how did you get Sting's number? Yeah, see, Shoemaker in this bit, when Rudy hears the police, he thinks the band. The current GOP is very much the Trump GOP. DeSantis is a perfect example of that. He's mimicking Trump's COVID response as cases and hospitalizations reach new records. He's downplaying the threat and refusing basic mitigation efforts that would help keep people safe. It's exactly what Trump did, and now they're just flagrantly lying about it and trying to rewrite history. Basically, their attitude is,
I can say anything I want on Fox.
This has been A Closer Look. God's Love We Deliver cooks and brings over 2 million meals a year to men, women, and children living with HIV, AIDS, cancer, and other serious illnesses, and they need your help now more than ever. If you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe, get vaccinated. We love you.